I'm just feeling like vomiting. I was like, these medications, these pills, see, maybe I'm allergic, I don't know, but I'm not reacting right. I finish, I wash my face, I rinse off the face wash, and then I go to the kitchen, I grab a banana and 3 tangerines. Those were the only fruit that were left. And then I laid down on the couch. There was no one in the house except my little sister, so thank God there was no one. So I had basically the whole environment to myself. I laid down on the couch, and you know when you're eating, I remembered the bag, guys. I haven't drank alcohol. I stopped drinking even maybe like 3 to 4 years before I came to Christ. I was already the designated driver in the party scene. I already dropped alcohol long ago because it used to give me such, like, it never took. I could never hold my liquor. Like, I used to get some of the worst hangovers while everybody else is cool. And I quickly vomited. I quickly got headaches. And my babalas, even though I drank the least amount of alcohol in comparison to everybody else, would last 4 days. And I would look jaundiced the whole time. So I just like, Papa, you would be feeling listless. Papa, Monday, Tuesday, you're still recovering. That was how I was on alcohol. I couldn't hold my liquor. That's why I quit. Like, Bujwala never liked me. It never hugged me. It never smooched me. It never handshook me when we met the first time. It just simply forced itself on me like a man into random sexual assault. Alcohol never rested. That's why I quit, even before coming to the Lord, right? Cransharp substances and Defil, I've never been good with them at all. Like, marijuana used to make me feel like I was lost and very sad. While other people got lachis and munchies, I never got hungry, and I also got really forlorn, like depressed inside a high. I would get exquisitely depressed. It's almost as if though I was, you know, like Jeremiah, called from my mama womb for a purpose, for the nations. And so certain things never clicked on me. They never caught. I could never have ended up an addict of anything because alcohol and drugs literally never responded to my body the way that they did to other people's bodies. They never did in my body. Those things, those substances never did in my body what they achieved in other people's lives. On marijuana, weed, I was depressed, forlorn, and I felt like I was in a vortex with everybody looking so distant. I felt like I was losing my mind, and I became even more recluse, more withdrawn than I already was in waking life because I was very shy as a child growing up. And the first time I tried weed, I was 17. And everybody got lachis, munchies, the weed high. I just became depressed and felt some very deep sense of foreboding inside a high, to a point where even though I was subjugated to the tyranny of peer pressure, I chose rather to just smoke cigarettes, even though I never liked them as well. That's the thing. I chose rather to smoke cigarettes instead of a blunt when my friends were out here getting high, because marijuana made me feel so depressed that it was not worth it for me to basically titivate the taste buds of my peers in this peer pressure thing. It was not worth it. It wasn't worth it. It was depressing, as in I could have committed suicide inside a high. It's like the Lord had just separated me from long ago to tell me these things are demonic, and in this trance, demonic entities can grab you and I already want you, and they're already looking at you very carefully. So I don't want you to get used to being high. So I'm not gonna make highs pleasant for you. I'm not gonna make highs pleasant for you. I took half a pill of ecstasy once, and it made me grope my cousin. I was sleeping in the same bed with her, and I started touching her up and feeling her up, groping her like she was my boyfriend, because I couldn't tell the difference between her and him. Like, yeah, I was not with my boyfriend. I was sleeping with my cousin, and I was literally hallucinating, and I kept on groping her body, and I could tell that she was soft like a woman. It was squishy like a woman, but I carried on anyway. And my cousin kept being like, no, leave me alone, leave me alone. And I remembered in the morning when we woke up, I was like, I'm so sorry. I know that I touched you up, felt you up in some kind of lesbian way. I thought you were, let's say his name was Tepang. I thought you were Tepang. I thought because earlier that night I was with Tepang, but then they left and we ended up sleeping. It was like a house party. They left with their crew and we slept at that house because we knew the owner. And I thought Tepang was there. And I thought, yeah, proper. When I woke up and realized that I out here groped a woman thinking she was my boyfriend, I was like, and nakona cousin yam. Thankfully she was understanding and whatnot, but it was because of ecstasy. I could not feel my body. I could not pinch myself. Also beer, like not beer, Like baby not Hunter's Dry, the green one. My boyfriend bought me a Hunter's Dry and the cups, right? I don't know why I didn't drink out of the bottle, but I insisted on pouring it into a cup. And I was high on ecstasy, right? And I grabbed my little cup and this Hunter's Dry. I grabbed my little cup and this Hunter's Dry, and I poured my Hunter's Dry into the cup while talking to my boyfriend. Yeah, and I just kept pouring. And it spilled over, and and it was coming on my hands, and my boyfriend was like, "Whoa, Karabo." I was like, "Oh, sorry." Yeah, I let the drink spill over, and that's when my boyfriend came only after I took half a pill. Yeah, ecstasy. Basically, they met us at that party, and after I did that, he took the drink from me, right? The alcohol, like this is the Hunter's Dry, and then come get the cup, and he's now holding them, and then he looks at me and he's like, "Oh, what did they give you?" He looks into my eyes and he's like, "What did you take? What did they give you? This is not alcohol. I've seen you on alcohol." And then I was like, "Just a half a pill of ecstasy." And he was like, "Wena, you didn't talk out of pressure, out of peer pressure." He had told me that so many times. He wasn't the best of guys himself. He was a pothead himself, but he used to always tell me that the only reason why you drag on cigarettes, and the only reason why you even smoked marijuana with us one time, and the only reason even why sometimes you drink is because you are subjugating yourself to peer pressure. He wasn't the best of guys, but he every so often gave me advice like that. I told him that I took half a pill of ecstasy, and that's what that half a pill did. That half a pill of ecstasy, it made me pour my drink into my cup, let it overflow, until somebody's like, "Whoa, stop," and it made me grope my cousin in the night. It's like I was in a trance, hallucinating, and I couldn't feel myself, and I couldn't differentiate between people. After that high, yeah, ecstasy, I was like, never again am I gonna do that, because next time I'm gonna grope a real lesbian, or I'm gonna grope a guy that's not my boyfriend, and find myself having had sex with someone that is not my boyfriend. I'm going to get raped. I realized that I'm in danger, Mona. Mind you, the way that ecstasy took on everybody else that took it, they were just jumping up and down, glad, the way that ecstasy would make you ecstatic. I was somebody else. So basically, long story short, narcotics, substances, from very early, from pretty much 17, which was the first narcotic I ever took, weed. From the age of 17, every experience was always like, baza. The Lord never let me develop an addiction, a habit. It never got to a point where I tried again. With weed, I could have taken it maybe a total of 3 times until I realized that the feeling of foreboding was too ridiculous. With ecstasy, once, never again. Cigarettes, I hated them all the way up until I quit. They never caught the way that I hated cigarettes. I quit cold turkey. I just flushed the cigarettes down the toilet, and I didn't miss them. I didn't need Nicorette. I didn't need a patch. I didn't need anything. I didn't need hypnosis. I didn't need anything. I just was like, Lento Lena Faneli Futi, I'm not getting used to it. You know, when you first smoke a cigarette, there you feel high. There is some funny little high that you feel. Yeah, that high never left. And it used to make me bilious, nauseous. It used to make me feel sick. And I carried on smoking cigarettes for years, even though the first cigarette of the day that I took made me feel high. I used to smoke about 5 or 6 a day, and I hated that high. It made me feel sick. It made me feel like I wanted to throw up. Mara, I carried on. I literally cannot tell you why I smoked for so long. I can't tell you. It was peer pressure. I was always just subjugated to the tyranny of following other people's little random, strange, ugly examples. Peer pressure. That's what's good. Yeah, so eventually one day I discovered that I want to be better than that. I want to be bigger than that. I want to be cuter than that. And I felt like cigarettes are not cute, especially on black girls. And especially when these black girls become black women, they get older, they are to reach middle age. There's nothing worse than a cigarette in the hand of an older black lady. It just looks so tacky. I don't know. So I was just like, I ain't turning the top of that anyway. So one day I went and I grabbed, I think I used to smoke B&H or whatever, Dunhill Blue. I used to smoke Dunhill Blue. I grabbed, I think maybe there were like 12 cigarettes left in that pack. One morning I woke up, I broke the cigarettes, threw them down the toilet, and I flushed them. Stupid things I don't want to flush. So I flushed again and again and again. You know, those sponges are like life boys. Yeah, took me forever and a day to flush them, but I flushed them and I never went back again. I never craved, like nothing ever was like go back. And this was not yet before, this was not because of the Holy Spirit. Probably was because God wanted me, but it would be years before I would what do you call this, come to Christ at the date of quitting cigarettes. and cigarettes were the first to go, and then maybe 2 years later, alcohol altogether, because the babalas. So I told you what cigarettes did to me, how they just never took, how they made me high, even though apparently cigarettes are not supposed to make you high, and the high made me bilious. Ecstasy made me essentially hallucinate, and weed made me very forlorn. It made me very sad. Alcohol, while it did give the joy that alcohol gives, did give the pleasure, the joy that alcohol gave. Like, your inhibitions are loosed. If you're shy, you're not so shy anymore. Because I was very shy. But then the shy kind of swept out the window. It fled with alcohol. Yeah. It gave me all those benefits of substances that people feel like, this is why I love cocaine. Alcohol did give me the happiness and the sociability, the ability to be able to touch it, be, hey, to jive, to whatnot, to loosen up, right? It did loosen me up, and that's why I probably stayed with it for the longest. However, yes, like it, but the pain that it put me through, the pain, like as in physical pain. Yeah, babalas, it was just not worth it. And futi, the pain of nausea, it's painful, the disquiet, uncomfortable bar nausea. While everybody is out making like Brenda Fassie, hambaring was 7, okay? Alcohol knocked me out. Party pooper. 1 a.m. was too late. I was the kind of person who walk longer before midnight, y'all. Like, before midnight, I used to sleep at parties because of alcohol. While everybody is still dancing, they're not ready to go home, I would be on the couch, lele, lights out. And when people would be like, Karabo, Karabo, let's go, Karabo. I've never had a big enough boyfriend, a strong enough Oki boyfriend to carry me. So I had to make my own looping feet. I had to walk. I sounded like a struggling coughing car. That Archie needs a hard knock service. If anything, you need to just throw that thing away and write it off. It's a good thing. I'm grateful that I never got taken for granted, raped. Maybe it's because every time I went partying, it was always with a boyfriend and never with, in the early days anyway, it was never just abangani, because I told you, like, they never stuck on me. The only reason I enjoyed partying at all was because I was always in love with someone that I'm there with at the party. So essentially it was about the company with the boy, more than it was about the enjoyment of this loud, debauched environment full of music and smoking. I never liked the party scene. I never liked it. It was too sweaty, too busy. Mara, if I'm here with somebody that I really love, that's enough for me. It would only be in my mid-20s when I would start to go out comfortably without my man, with my friends, because I was growing into myself and the fullness of my personality. I was starting to be independent from the need of being with a guy, so I could hang out with just my girls. But literally the party scene never took, even with my girls. But by the time I was partying with just my girls, I was sober. I stopped drinking for a very a while before I even came to Christ. So the latter part of my dancing years, my partying years, I was alcohol free. But throughout the time when I was alcoholed, it was always with a boy. Like, I was always there with a boyfriend, so there was never any avenue for some guy to take advantage of me because I'm drunk or whatever, because my boyfriend was always there. So that probably is the reason why I likely eluded rape, just being taken advantage of, or what do you call this, roofied. It's because I never went ujaiva nabutigin and Japan. Yeah, I was always there with a guy that would have caused a fight, a ruckus, if some dude were to be like, hey sister, yeah, how are you, darling? While I'm out there on the couch on some there was always some dude out there on some medium plumber, relax, you know. So it helped. God, I guess, always had my back. Mara nekin loka kabo 11 guys, neke loka kabo 12, while everybody's still gonna be there for another 4 or 5 hours. And in some instances and I would struggle to sleep because of amakaza. Like it would be so cold. You all know party nights, how cold it can be. You're like freezing in a car and you want these people to come and can we just go home? I want my bed. They like Brenda Fassie, yo, I'm 7. I was that girl, either sleeping in Motweni or on a couch exciting at somebody's house party or a couch at lab. Just sleeping, like crashed, like yeah, lights out. I used to sleep before 1 a.m. on a good day, and on a bad day before midnight, before 11 p.m. And when they would wake me up, when they would be like, Karabo, Karabo, go sit in the car, Karabo. It was in standing up that then the spraying party started to happen. The spraying party, the wet balloon party started to happen. Basically, that's when I started to so everybody around me was like kutsa menkutswa nekikutswa. When I would stand up from because I would stand up and that vertigo, that whirling room, that twirling atmosphere would then cause such a hard knock nausea that I would then start to vomit everywhere. And it only would happen much later where I would self-control it enough to run to a toilet because I got dissed enough times by people for vomiting on their shoes and whatnot to basically try and find somewhere where I'm not going to be landing on anybody. So I did run to toilets and stuff like that at some point, but in the beginning, menkutswa, nekikutswa, and people ducked me because I would get out and then stand up. Nyahlanza, and then Loklanza logo would last 2.5 to 3 days. Hi guys, as in no, like proper. You know how people say that you take out babalas with more alcohol. I could not understand that statement because the way I wanted nothing to do Ngojwala the next day, I could not see how anybody would actually eradicate alcoholism. Not alcoholism, but alcohol with alcohol. And I used to keep getting counseled, Eja the chicken licking hot wings. You'll feel better. The next morning, they would come out, wherever you are, in my gut. I would be vomity pretty much the first day. The first day, I'd be super vomity. But the second, third, and early part of the fourth day, I would be so nauseous that I would struggle to eat. I would like the sight of food, everything was just ridiculous for me. And this was a thing very early on, very early on with my alcohol consumption. I vomited, I slept early, I could never enjoy the parties, not that I ever did enjoy them. And then I vomited everywhere, and then the headache, the hangover, the pain in my body, it lingered for too long. It always lingered for longer than other people. And I could never ntasa with more puza because I hated the prospect of drinking more puza, and God, that didn't work. Makwenya didn't work, the chiefs did not work, food didn't work, it just came back up again. And so the way that I would recover myself to health would be to eat very little amounts of food, very iteratively in a laying down position for the next 2 to 3 days. That's how it was. So I learned the hard way not to drink I regulated how much intake of alcohol I take. I realized that maybe stop drinking sweet drinks. So I started, the sweet ones were especially bad, like Bacardi Brisa. Oh goodness, well, those were the worst. It got better when I transitioned over to Hunter's Dry. Limoma Savannah, so they were less lethal on me, but they still did bring calamity anyway. Wine was especially taxing, but then I came to discover that the red wine, dry, was better towards me. Even the Bible says some red wine can heal your stomach issues. So I, over the years, tended towards Hunter's Dry or Savannah, le wine, red, dry, because they had the least impact on me. But they still had an impact, even though it was the least. And I also made sure that no alcohol, even in the slightest, on Sunday, and on Saturday, drink, Friday, Saturday, drink only this many units to be nice and chirpy and happy, but not enough to loca, and so therefore wake up with a crazy babala. So I basically started to regulate myself around this thing so I can keep on taking it, given that it made me less, inhibited out there in the wilderness. That's how it was with alcohol. But the vomiting, the babalas, the sense of that ickiness, that squeamishness, like all the day long, just lingering and lingering. In a bucket. There's no food in your stomach. You're vomiting foam, like bile. I don't know what that stuff is, but it's not food. Every year, Ashem, and in Nakona, when you vomit that gwebu thing, is that vomiting that is like you'll stay in that position until finally just this foam puff out of you, and you will do that for what, days? Days? Or days? I must do this for days. And so I would be sleeping while feeding myself one little slice of bread. Like proper, I would grab anything, like just a slice, and I would eat it sleeping like that on the side. Hanyane, just so there can be food in my system, because I knew that I was not going to recover from that hangover without liquids, without water, and also without food. So I needed to put something in that will eventually just kind of stay, that's not going to come back out again. And that's how I cured myself over the next couple of days. And when I had a boyfriend later on, he would then be the one to deliver me all of this dry bread and all of this water and this bucket next to the bed, where there's like this disgusting gwebu that stinks so sour. It smells so sour. Yeah. That would sit next to me for 24 hours. The next day I wouldn't necessarily be vomiting, but I would still be feeling some kind of way nasty. And there is nothing that you desire more than to be recovered to health again. And the thing also about that vomiting of that gwebu is that after you vomit the gwebu, you feel like a star. I'm walking on sunshine. Oh, you feel like a star for 5 seconds, because I so failed. It's not yet done getting out of your body. It's not yet done exiting your bones, and so therefore it out here be manifesting the living daylights out of itself just after like 3 minutes of a sense of relief, and you're starting to get into a deep sleep, and then you're back at it again, nauseous, and then more gwebu. Yeah, like clockwork, 24 hours. And right next to that crazy gwebu, there is this like splitting headache. That's like a lightning strike coming from this part of the head out that one. And you're not gonna get better from that headache unless you take a grandpa or whatever that's gonna stay in your body, and also drink water and eat. So it's a combination of things, but food does not stay down, and water does not stay down, and grandpa grandpa's bad enough going in, yo. It's bad enough going in. Manje mase iphuma even nkarake mokolo. Mase iphuma ngekhala, guys. When grandpa's coming out from the I like to say that the nose has taste buds. You all know that's true. You will know that your nose has got taste buds after taking castor oil. Like, you will know that your taste buds are not only in your mouth. They exist at the back of your nose. Because try bodily castor oil and tell me if you don't taste it. From inko. The taste buds of your nose, they will show you more flames than the ones on your tongue, okay? You will taste grandpa etswakanko le ka molomo. Same way that will taste castor oil, you're in danger. You will taste it. It's disgusting. It's nauseating. And grandpa going in is horrible. Y'all know that. But it coming out is another kind of horrible, because it comes all bitter. It comes all sour. Don't know. And then mind you, like monko, it's even worse. It burns. It burns like your mucous membranes or whatever when it goes past your nose, so that it comes. And imagine you can't control how it sometimes comes out of your nose. You can't control it. You can't control it. And so that's how it was with pain meds. You would take a grandpa and it would be bad enough to drink it all that nauseated, knowing that it works really fast on your headache. But then my buya, grandpa yakon, ibuya futi through the nose, and then it tastes through the nose. So now you're more bilious, now you're more crazy, now you're more ridiculous, now you're just basically dead. And and you will keep trying to keep that grandpa down. You will keep trying to make sure that it stays so it can go to work on your head again and again and again, because you have to keep trying to cure your headache. You have to keep trying to cure your babalas. The amount of effort, the triage, the emergency room response after one night of fun, it got to a point where I was like this is not worth it. No, it's not worth it. I am not about to literally be a war nurse. I'm not gonna be a person that is out here attending as a first line responder in the emergency room at the hospital. Do you understand? To myself, I was my own. You know how it was rumored back in the day that there was a Smirnoff ice ward or storm, or there was a Smirnoff storm that got discontinued. Yo, like a ward, yes, Smirnoff storm, or was it ice? I stand corrected. One of them Smirnoff, what do they call those things? Ciders. One of those Smirnoff ciders. In its own ward, Karabo Hospital. I would administer medical attention to myself. Ingathi mina ming checked into the Smirnoff Ice Ward, yes, Karabo Hospital, but it was in my own backyard. It was in my own apartment. It was in my own bedroom in the days when I used to stay with my mom, and I didn't quite appreciate being a nurse. Idogotela. Busy bring the fluids into my body with an IV, because drinking them is not gonna give. Like proper, what I needed was an IV for hydration, because when I took the water, that gopi felt like a halas. Guys, anyway, whatever. So those were my issues. Those were my issues back when I was drinking alcohol, and ultimately I told you guys a story with the accident with my boyfriend. I nearly killed my boyfriend and I in an accident one time. Hlongwane, it's another story for another day. It's a very long one. I explained it in some other interlude that you've probably heard already. He insulted me, he offended me, and I insisted on driving, and then we hit a puddle of water. My car spun and hit the pavement, and that's when I was like, futhi, I don't even like alcohol anyway, and then I quit, like, altogether, because I realized that I would have made a much more sober decision if I had not been drinking. But I made that decision, so that's when I stopped drinking altogether. But even in the run-up to, I was always just disquieted by the emergency room that I had to find that I found myself in night after alcohol. I was always just too babalast, and I could never truly get drunk like everybody else, because once I would drink past a certain amount, I would lock her and I would not enjoy the party. I was tired of sleeping in freezing cars or on sofas in clubs, with me desperately desirous of going home, but I can't go home because everybody's not done. Everybody was busy mangesaring, and I was like, but I was not about to be their party pooper, so they just ignored me. When I woke up, I would vomit on them. No, I was like, hint, nudge, nudge. Hint, nudge, nudge, girl. You can't hold your liquor. You can't hold substances. You can't smoke. You can't take a pill. Yes, but with you, they have rejected you like an organ in a body, like a bad organ in the body. They reject you, like a heart transplant, like a heart you're not taking after you've had a transplant. That's what alcohol is. It might for some people be cool, chill, relax. Marague, sisters, it doesn't. And I'm a hangover wako. You are basically a triage nurse to yourself. Frankly, what you need is hospitalization. I skipped 1 or 2 days on Mondays at work because of alcohol, and because of that skipping, I would have to go to a doctor, get a doctor's note, and claim I was sick. Indeed, I was sick, but I would have to pay some doctor $250. I was sick on babalas, but not on an actual illness that is worthy of you skipping work on Monday concerning, and I would have to pay some crooked doctor a good 250, 300 rands just to write me a doctor's note to say it's okay for me to be off work on Monday. And given that I would spend $250 to lie to my boss so I don't lose my job, the $250 of which is a hefty amount of money in comparison to how much it costs to drink all that alcohol, it does not cover the alcohol. Like $250 was more money than the alcohol. The alcohol could have been in total $100, maybe 150 for 6-pack. Marakimo can spend the 250. Save 250, save literally 150, and you've got yourself a nice, well-rounded, near on 500 rand saving from this crazy. Yeah. And then I remember there was a job that I had as a casual, right? Standing up like a casual clothing store retail in Rosebank. I was a casual, go stand B. I don't think the store is still there. And I was only working there 19 years old, first year varsity, part-time job. During the week I was at school, right? Yeah, and so I remember I was there only on Saturdays and Sundays. That's when I worked at that store, Karabo Kadi weekend. One time I went to work having a party the night before, the Friday, and I was hungover. I woke up and I went to work because how do you call in sick to a job that you only work on the weekends? Okay, I went to work hungover. Guys, there was a kitchen at the back of the store. Not only kitchen. Like you could you open it and the way people would put like a fridge in their lunch and whatnot. And sometimes you would get left alone in the store because your colleagues went either to the bathrooms or they were on lunch, so you were the only casual in the store. This particular Saturday, I was so bubbleized, and the worst thing about you're not bubbleized thing, in a corporate job, you could at least be sitting at your desk all day feeling your headache, like can't wait to go home. And the thing about alcohol as well is if you're bubbleized, you're probably gonna smell. So nobody ever told me that I smelled, but I probably did. Anyway, whatever. It's worse when you're standing, and when you are working in a retail store, you can't sit down, and you have to tend to clients standing up and all that jazz. I was standing and the whole morning, and I say morning because I didn't last the day. The whole morning when I was there, I kept on going to kitchen, whether or not there was anybody in the store with me, like a colleague. So basically the store was just left yawning with my manager yet to come in. People could have walked in just to quickly vomit. Like inside the sink, I'm relieved for 5 seconds, and I'm standing in the store, and then the nausea would come every morning. I would gut coast, look around. Is there anybody? No. Go to the back. Vomit. I did this from 9 Ribula shop until like midday, and that's when my one other colleague came in, because your shift was starting from 12 up until 8. Because December. In December, stores close very late. Okay? Yeah. And so we used to basically do shifts. One goes in, I was supposed to chase maybe like at 2 or 3 or whatever. And this chick was going to work all the way up until 8 at night. And when she came in, there's a time when we overlap. Angisho. Guys, when she came in, I said to my boss, I'm too sick. Can I go home? I'm not feeling well. I don't know what's wrong with me. He let me go. I don't know if he suspected that I had babalas or whatnot, but just the fact that I came in, I think rescued me, because it suggested that somewhere along the way. And I went home. And that day, when I got home from that babalas, on with all my soul glow, like in Coming to America. Your soul glow, was on the window. I said, the way I couldn't keep my head straight. On my way home, in the taxi, and once I got home, I was like, you are not going to do anything good about your life. You're not going to succeed in this world if you keep drinking alcohol, because this job is just a casual job to give you 250 yana during the week to buy Coca-Cola on campus. It's nothing much. It's probably not even going to be on your CV in the future. Mara, the fact that you had to leave work in the middle of the day because of alcohol, this is the kind of stuff that will rip the future from underneath your feet. And that's when I started to strategize. I was 19 years old, I guess. I started to strategize around drinking, how much to drink so as to not get a babalas, because I liked the chirpiness of alcohol. How much to drink, but make sure that you're not sick in the morning, and that you can go to work, and that you're hyper, you're cool. I would tell myself that, but then later on it became instead of moderate, just get rid of it, like altogether, because literally you can't handle your liquor. Something's good, like something is up, Lana. You cannot handle your liquor. So seeing as you can't handle your liquor, just quit. And then I also thought deeply when I was lost, right? Still lost, not yet saved, that there is a problem with alcohol in your family. Like there are alcoholics left, right, and center all over the show. Your dad is an alcoholic. You like Papa, like there is this thing that you can't handle. So take this as an opportunity to not inevitably end up an alcoholic, because alcohol doesn't like you. That is a blessing. I did not necessarily think of it as from God, because I was not yet saved, but I realized that me not being able to hold my liquor perhaps is a sign, a strong one from the universe. You know how you like a very tossed to and from by every wind of doctrine when you're still lost. You don't accrue stuff to God. Maybe the universe is hinting to you that it doesn't want you to like alcohol, because if you like it you will like it too much in your family. People like it to death, so just let it go. I was thinking these things, but I didn't quit yet. Right? I did not quit yet. And I would quit not because of crazy babalas, but because of some accident that happened. That was the final straw. That was the last what I imagined to be decision by God. There I did accrue it to God to basically get me off the stuff. Otherwise it's just going to take me away like a tsunami. Mara hukulaho. That sickness, right, that I would get under poozering. Of course I stopped drinking, so I never felt it again. Except for one time when I was in the club as a newly born again believer. Like when I was newly saved, I was still clubbing. And then I went to the club one time. I left early. I absconded. My girls wondered where was she. We all used our own cars, so it's not like I left anybody behind. At this stage, I was thankfully with a car. So when everybody was trying to stamba on 7, me, I left on 11. I absconded because I felt drunk in the club from the debauchery they're in, the demonism in there. The level of spiritual darkness in nightclubs is so astronomical that after getting born again, with me still insisting on a worldly life, when I went to the club one time, it's like Meng Dagiwe, and it's like I could see demons walking, crawling on the walls. Everything was so dark. It was filthy. And I was now newly saved, regenerated, circumcised. And this environment was so intoxicating to me. That I felt physically drunk. Even though I was at that stage already on Red Bull and Coca-Cola, right? And it had been years that I'd been on Red Bull and Coca-Cola. Redemption did not get me off alcohol. I stopped drinking because of that accident I told you about. And 3 years later, I got saved. 3 years later, I got saved. So I was already drinking Coke in the club, and I was doing nothing different here. I was sober, but I felt drunk, and there was a sense of foreboding, just a lot of sickness in the room that I could pick up spiritually that made me leave. And Puzang, not even a drop. I hadn't been drinking for years. Get home, and it's like I was still drunk. Proper. I'm out of the club. I'm in my apartment. It's about midnight. I should be as healthy as now. Yeah. But I'm feeling weird. Yo, you know when they say the things of the spirit are more real than reality? Best believe it. Like, we see my demon for simply being spirit filled in the club. It's because I was perpetually being followed by God all my life. I was already walking not with the spirit. Maybe let's say like a friendship. Like I was already walking side by side with the spirit of God all my life. But now he came into me. Now I was born again. Back then, he was merely around me. Now he was in me. So the feeling, the hatred of the world, the hatred of darkness, this time around was coming from within as opposed to from without, that was protective of me. To make sure that I can never rest in ecstasy, I can never rest in marijuana, I can never rest in alcohol. Now it was within me, and because now God was in me because I was born again, now this time around I was out here getting drunk without actual drinking. Now I was out here getting high without an actual blunt. Now I was basically, the Lord was saying to me, nightclubs, this dark world, yeah, baby, the life that you're living is like weed now to you. It's like cigarettes now to you. It's like alcohol, hey? It's gonna give you, you're gonna locker before everybody else. You're gonna sleep on a couch before everybody else. And when they wake you up, Karabo, let's go, you're gonna be like, and vomit on them before everybody else. It's going to make you wanna squish and touch people that you're not supposed to squish and touch if you take it. This worldliness is not for you, my baby, because if you take it, you're going to act out of character. You are going to not be able to participate in it for too long without removing yourself from it. And you will also feel in the middle of it a sense of foreboding. You know how I told you with marijuana? I had a sense of foreboding while everybody had the lachis and the munchies. I was just sad. It's like I was in some deep darkness. And everybody else enjoyed their high. In the club, it's like I was high on Zol. Everybody else, happy mona. And that's how it was all my life, even with clubbing, partying. Mangesa, masibangene, onkumuntu uyajiva. Understanding what's so enjoyable about this environment. Only thing that made me enjoy parties, like I said, was being with my boyfriend, the guy that I was in love with at the time. Nothing else. The actual vibe, the actual scene, it never caught. It never gelled. It never glued. Yeah, and now that I was indwelt by the Spirit of God, even without drinking alcohol, without smoking cigarettes, even with my faculties being intact physically, I literally endured a spiritual drunkenness. I left the club the same way that I would lock on a couch at 11 p.m. while everybody's just getting started, everybody's just getting warmed up, and I'm already sleeping on the couch, and I'm gonna be sleeping there for hours before everybody decides to go home. Yeah, proper. It was go Melrose Arc, go the venue. It was packed to the brim, kind of night where everybody wanted to be there, and people were out there trying to squeeze out into the door. Again, the way that you would squeeze the last bits of toothpaste out of a tube. But I was already in. We were already in. Frankly, we went there through a connection, yeah, one of our friends, so we were kind of VIP. I know, and people basically would have killed for my slot in there, and I just literally looked like I was going to the bathroom, and I just never came back. I left my girls there because I didn't want them to talk me out of it. I did not give it to Katamaya. I absconded. I just left. And when I got home, I felt like I had drunk alcohol. I knew what it was like to be drunk because I'd been drunk before. I just felt drunk. That is how much spiritual war I was in by simply being in a club. And that's just how deeply spiritual I was. That's how deep my call was. That's how important my job was. That's how jealous for me God was. He was so jealous that even before I came to him, he was walking with me and made me not develop addictions. He caused substances to not stick on me. And when I got saved, as soon as the Spirit filled me and I tried to maintain a worldly lifestyle, he made me sick with the world. And so I get to my apartment and I'm feeling drunk. I sleep. Next morning, guess what? Lo and behold, these things are just as physical and as real and as natural as the waking realm. I kid you not. Spiritual things are realer than this dimension that we're in. The next morning, even though I didn't drink a single drop of alcohol, only Red Bull, and Nakona, 2 of them fell because who buys Red Bull in a club? It's so expensive. Anyway, I had a hangover. The next morning, I had a hangover. The feeling, you know, the nausea, it was not, of course, as bad as when I was actually drinking alcohol. I was not actually vomiting. And I didn't have a headache that would make my head like a log on the bed, unable to lift it. But that sense of ickiness that you feel when you are hungover, with everything just being too bright around and whatnot, I felt it. I was like, I didn't drink a single drop of alcohol, and yet I came back. I left the club because I felt drunk. I got home and I felt drunk. I sleep, I wake up, and I feel hungover. Without drinking. I was like, wait again, guys. These places that you put yourselves at, you have no idea the level of spiritual war there. The Lord was jealous for me. He had a particular job for me. He had a particular work for me. There was something that he was doing through my life. And so he gave me a sensitivity spiritually that is above, if I should call it that, above most, okay? He gave me a spiritual sensitivity that excels most people's, so that I would come here with the ministry mission that he's given me and explain just how dire the straits you are in with the world, just what you're engaged in, just what you allow yourself to commune with when you are in the club, when you are drinking alcohol, when you are smoking marijuana, popping a pill of ecstasy, snuffing a line of cocaine, when you are taking mushrooms, hallucinogens. Some of y'all, the Lord has not given such an extreme sensitivity to the things of the Spirit to a point where you would get a sense of foreboding in the middle of a marijuana high, because I guess you're not there yet spiritually. But I felt, now I have come to label it, seeing as I'm born again, a demonic presence in the middle of a weed high. But understand, weed, especially weed, it's called the light, it's light. The people don't even think it's addictive. It's even been legalized in certain parts of our world for medicinal purposes and whatnot, but it does alter a person's state of consciousness, and so it essentially drives you into what we call the second heaven, and it's a place where demons reside, all right? And that place is full of sadness, forlornness, foreboding, and death. It is the be-all and end-all of cosmic Hades, if you will. Do you understand? If there is any space apart from hell that best describes hell-bound citizens' trajectory, it is the second heaven, where entities live. They dwell in the second heavens. Do you understand? And people, when they get trips, when they get high, they make themselves susceptible to influence from beings in the second heavens, entities, you know, demons. You get my point. That's what's good. That's what happens. And so the deception, you know how it's written in God's word that Satan masquerades like an angel of light. So it is no wonder his servants also act like they're servants of the gospel and what have you. So the euphoria that you feel in a high is like the masquerading by Satan as an angel of light. It is not the truth of how you actually ought to feel as you are communing with the second heavens, but you are given a euphoria. So with weed, with marijuana, your altered state of consciousness makes you laugh a lot. It gives you jubilation, and it causes also for you to hunger, and you then feel as if though when you're in the state nobody can touch you, you're happy. But that's because the Lord has handed that situation over to you in a reprobate mind to essentially believe the life where you have not loved the truth, and so be saved. But if the Lord is jealous for you, like the way that he was with me, he will give you the reality of what you're actually entering into when you are on weed. And from as early as the age of 17, God gave me the real second heavens experience instead of the altered, the smoke screen cloaked, masqueraded version of a high. He gave me the foreboding that you would feel when you are in a haunted house. When you are basically like, a haunted house is understood as one within which very malevolent spirits are living. So you don't walk in there and expect to feel joy and happiness. You feel an eerie sense of foreboding, and hairs on your skin are raised. Okay, you get raised hairs because there is a strong sense of foreboding. You get hairs raised because there is a malevolent spirit, entities. They are entities that are hostile there, hence why they've called a ghost hunter, a medium, whatever it is that might have raised alarms to the person in this property to basically say, please come and clean the house. You know how people don't go to Jesus, but they would rather go to a medium or a psychic or whatever. Yeah, the thing that caused them to go to a medium or a psychic was definitely not jubilation or a sense of elation. For that you would not call in some spiritual police, no, right? You would call in what you call to be he who or she who is in any position to vanquish such entities, because it is understood that a haunted mansion is populated by malevolent spirits. But a pill that you pop for the sake of getting happy high, a pill that you pop for the sake of getting happy high is not one where you anticipate to meet with Casper the Ghost, or even more nefariously Candyman, or It the Clown, or Annabelle the Spooky Doll. You don't pop ecstasy or even snuff a line of cocaine for the purpose of meeting with diabolical entities that scare everybody, things that go bump in the night. You go in there hoping to enter into some kind of nirvana, like some kind of state of jubilation, ecstasy. You enter, you take a pill, a drug, for the purpose of being made joyful, happy, to mess with your mind so as to alter your state of consciousness, so as to alter your perception of the world, your reception of the world, your how it is that you commune with the planet on the left and on the right. You're trying to temporarily escape it in this false euphoria, this false peace. So because the intention in popping this pill is to create that falsehood of peace, the devil will give it to you. He will give you a high, hence it's called a high, right? He will give you a high that is utopic, it's joyful, it's heavenly, it's full of laughter, it's full of need satiating impulses. Like hunger is a need that upon feeding a gagota, like you know how they eat so much on weed, you feel your flesh just being titivated, satiated and whatnot. But that is the deception, that is the lie. And because the Lord was jealous for me and he wanted me to do this work eventually at some point in my life, he utterly refused for me to experience Zol the way that everybody else experiences Zol. He refused for me to experience ecstasy the way that everybody else experiences ecstasy. He refused to let me experience alcohol or rest in it the way that everybody else enjoys it. And cigarettes too. Even though they don't necessarily cause that much of an altered state of consciousness, they never rested on me because it is some kind of a substance and it does mess with the human body, seeing as the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. We should not be bringing random strange smokes into it. Okay, substances like fumes, it's just unhealthy to breathe anything other than the oxygen that God gave us to breathe. Where when you deliberately go out of your way to fill your lungs with smoke, it's unnatural. Because do you not choke when you're in a burning building? You do. I often wonder if smokers are more likely to survive smoke inhalation than people who don't smoke. Like in a fire, are they more likely to get out faster because they've given themselves that addiction? Probably, I don't know. But it is unnatural to inhale all that smoke, because you're not supposed to be inhaling smoke. You're supposed to be inhaling air. So cigarettes are also not good for that reason. Yeah, none of those things were able to rest in me, and my experiences under them, especially with consciousness altering drugs, they were just experiences with the demonic. They were experiences with the demonic because God wanted me to basically highlight, like I said, how dire the situation you find yourself you are in, how dire the straits are when you go to the club. Like it's that bad, such that somebody filled by the Holy Spirit who is insisting on maintaining a worldly lifestyle, when they go to the club, I felt, first of all, like I said, I told you, I saw actual shadow figures going up and down the walls, but that I probably just wrote it off as giddy shadows here, because it was packed. And also I felt inebriated, intoxicated, even though I was not drinking alcohol. And the next morning I had an actual hangover, evidencing that these entities thrive on altered states of consciousness. They thrive in a body made sick by narcotics. They thrive in darkness, and they lodge sickness in you. They can literally cause illness in your body by you simply exposing yourself to that environment. By you simply putting yourself in that position, you can literally come back home all nauseated because they were able to mess you up spiritually. It is written in God's word that that the devil has come to steal, kill, and destroy, while Christ has come to give life and life abundantly, right? So if the devil steals and kills and destroys, necessarily, therefore, if you feel like death itself after coming from the club, it proves that those environments are diabolical. They're evil. I was made to commune with the spiritual realm apart from me understanding that that's what's going on. And instead of God allowing me to be deceived by the masquerading as an angel of light through taking narcotics, he made me experience rather what you're getting yourself into when you take narcotics. You like I said, you commune with the second heavens, you commune with demons, you chill in a state that makes you more susceptible to being indwelt by them and to living with them, to having them harass you, follow you around. You put yourself in a position to be essentially what we call demon possessed, because you're poking into those heavens with your drug taking. He never let it rest, so therefore I never smoked weed again after the third time, and ecstasy was just the one time I would never have done.